Hey guys, this is Charles from SentiFX. It is April 26, 2020. All right, here's where we are. Here's the dollar index. Currently there's a upwards channel. We have been expecting price to continue making higher highs. And if that trend continues, I'm looking for stops to be taken above. Okay, so price came close to taking out those stops and then pulled back once it hit this upper channel. So we're just bouncing off the bottom of this channel. I'm expecting price to at least take out those stops, and then we'll reassess from there. If price strongly breaks down and pulls back, I'll be looking to go short the dollar in this range, just based on market structure alone. Here we have the dollar franc, and currently it's also in an area of importance. If I'm expecting price to continue upward, if you look, price actually has taken out stops here. Okay, so that's something to be concerned about. Usually when price grabs stops and grabs that liquidity, it usually retreats back in the direction it was coming from in the first place. So that's why this is usually a target area that you want to consider. Taking off most of your trade because expecting it to go to the moon is a false expectation that many traders have. You just need to know the key areas, and one of the key areas to exit a trade is at your stop locations. But based on the dollar, since the dollar itself hasn't taken out stops, let me go back. Since the dollar hasn't taken out the stops above here, it still could have another play to the upside and go a little bit further beyond this, okay? But this is the key area. So if there's a breakdown and it pulls back to the trap traders in this area, I would expect it to move downward to eventually take out the stops down here. All right, pound dollar. The key area that we want to hold is this blue area right here. If price pulls into here, this would be a good short opportunity, expecting price to continue downward. And eventually take out these stops and then move down to this area. But the first target would definitely be, stops below this range. Okay. For Euro USD, same expectancy. Expecting price to start turning around. This is a key area to hold. Okay, so I'm expecting price to continue downward here. But if for some reason price pushes through, then your buying opportunity is going to be in this area right here. And you're going to aim for stops above this high right here. Okay. Dollar yen. This one's really interesting. Because it's in this range, okay? So it's bouncing off this range. The key value area is right here in the middle. Okay, so price is trading around this value area. If we get a strong push in either direction, this is going to be a forceful move either way. So once price breaks out either direction, I would expect at least this range to continue upward. So if I just copy that up, my expectation would be for price to at least go one of these ranges, possibly two, and I wouldn't go too much beyond that. Okay, you'll just have to look at the left of the chart and check on price as price moves onward. But if you look, if it goes to the upside, I could potentially take out these stops here and reach the target of 2 times that range to the upside. Okay, so dollar yen is definitely an interesting trade, but not at the moment. Okay, so if you're playing either side of this, if you go long here, you could really get stopped out quickly. When price pushes through and goes down, you could make it to the top of the range. Okay, there's no telling how long this is going to range. If you want to play it as a range, you know that your stop has to at least be, I would say, half the range down to the downside, definitely below this low. Okay, and the play would be to play it back to the top of the range, somewhere between here and here. Okay, but don't play this expecting the breakout. You would actually have to wait for the breakout to occur and play the pullback. Wait for the breakout to occur and play the pullback to the downside. Okay, and this is just based on market structure alone. Using sentiment, we may get indications on where things are and where things may be headed. New Zealand dollar. I'm expecting price to pull into this area and then reverse back down. Okay, potentially aiming to right here or possibly stops below. Okay, but if for whatever reason price does push through this and take out these stops, I would be a buyer on the pullback, expecting price to continue upward. With dollar CAD, we've actually had a new low here. It's pretty close actually. Structure has somewhat breaking to the downside. Okay, this should have made a new high and then pulled back, but it did not. So now that price is pulled all the way back down to here, my expectation would be for it to come and fill this gap right here. So I would be looking more for this liquidity gap fill. Again, you have to look at sentiment as well and just make sure that things are aligning. This is just market structure analysis at the moment. Okay, and the Australian dollar, I'm actually expecting this to continue upward because we had a new high breach here and price is kind of responding off of this area. Okay, and it pushed up, so it looks like price is going to go for these stops above. Okay, I think this is more high probability than the downside of this trade. Okay, if price had pulled to around this area and not made a new high, then the expectation would be for the fill lower. Okay, but if you look, price filled the liquidity gap over here and then responded immediately. Okay, price went to the liquidity gap and started moving upward. Okay, here we have the Australian dollar looking at market profile. We have the SentiFX sentiment indicator and down below the SentiFX relative sentiment indicator. Okay, pretty interesting actually. You can see that with relative sentiment, as retail was becoming more and more short, price was moving up. Okay, and when retail was trying to become long here, price is starting to chop, right? Goes down, takes out their stops below, clears them out. So price is always trying to cause max pain to retail. Okay, if retail is trying to go in a direction that the market makers are trying to move price in, they'll do something like this, where retail is trying to go long here, price starts to go long, and then boom, takes out their stops. Okay, price moved down and grabbed these stops below. So any retail trying to long here likely were stopped out by this move. Okay, so you can see that currently sentiment's just kind of mixed. Okay, it's more on the short side. You can see that by this dark red over here that retail's more short than long currently. And based on the previous analysis, I think we're going to get a move higher. But we'll see how that plays out. Right now, sentiment-wise, the only indication that you have is that market structure's to the upside and retail is more short than long. So that's good enough to take a trade in the long direction. Okay, let's look at the euro dollar. This is really interesting to check out. As you can see, retail's been more long than short by this darker blue. Okay, and you can see overall they're adding more longs and decreasing on their shorts, and price has been moving down. Okay, now if you look, there's the dark red line here and the blue line, and those represent the average retail long and short positions. Okay, so one thing that I've found very frequently since we put these indicators onto the MT4 platform is that the market makers seem like they don't like anybody to be in profit for too long. And so retail longs have been in max pain for a long time, and they're getting stopped out over and over and over. But if you look, as price moved away from the short positions, any retails that were short, it has already pulled back to those average short prices to usually cause the shorts to panic, get out of their positions, okay? And retail longs are going to be stopped out really soon if they haven't already, okay? And so we may notice a shift with the euro dollar. We'll see how it plays out. It may just pull back to get more longs on board and then continue short. So based on our previous market structure analysis, it looks like that's more likely, that it's going to move up a little bit, get some longs excited, or get more longs excited now that prices move down and back up, and then continue downward. Okay, so we need to monitor sentiment and see what's going on. But the key thing here is that sentiment is just slightly long at this point. Okay, and as far as relative sentiment, retails aren't adding longs or decreasing shorts too much at this moment in time. Okay, so we have to monitor this and market structure before we can take a trade. Okay, so right now we just need to be aware of where we are and wait for sentiment to give us some guidance on which direction the market makers are going to take this. Okay, pound dollar. Same thing as the euro dollar. Okay, if you look here, we see as retail sentiment became more and more short, price was moving up. Okay, and then sentiment, they became less short, kind of flatlined really, and as of right now we're pretty close to flatlined. Okay, and price is just kind of drifting sideways. Okay, so this pound dollar is a no trade at this moment in time. Okay, we need a huge spike in a direction and need to see retail going opposite of that move. That's when we're going to have our signal to get in. But as of right now, there's no signal here. Okay, we can just see that price is building pretty flat. Okay, it's just staying in this zone. Okay, so we really need to see a push up or a push down and start seeing retail choose a side. Okay, right now, again, this is pretty flatlined. The positioning's almost zero for average. Okay, they're almost balanced. So no interest in trading this at the moment. Okay, New Zealand dollar. Retail slightly long on this one. They're a little bit above average on the longs. Okay, and price is just still building within this range. Okay, price has been here for a couple days now, pretty much in the zone. Okay, so again, I'm really wanting to see a direction to be chosen this week, some kind of way to give us guidance on these pairs as far as which direction we want to go in. All right, dollar CAD. This one's interesting because what we have is a move up, okay, and prices kind of drifted lower. But if you look, retail is becoming heavily short dollar CAD. Okay, so I know on the market structure analysis, it looked like price is moving down. Okay, so my concern here is that retail is becoming pretty heavily short here, and they're crossing our threshold as far as the overall retail short positioning, and the net positioning between the two is starting to become more and more to the sell side. Okay, so I would expect the market to actually push up here. Okay, so what I'd like to see is price to move up beyond these value zones and to kind of pull back to this previous point of control over here, and then a continuation upward. So sentiment-wise alone, just looking at this situation, that's what I would like to see with dollar CAD. Okay, and we had this huge impulse move and liquidity gap to the upside right here, and we haven't had a continuation yet. So this is more likely to be a continuation coming for dollar CAD based on what I'm seeing with the retail sentiment. Okay. All right, dollar franc. Here, same thing as some of the other pairs, right? There's not a whole lot sentiment's kind of just stuck in the middle. Okay, for the most part, they're a little bit more short than they are long. They've increased their shorts. Price has been moving up. And again, price didn't get too far away from the average long position before pulling back in. But if retail starts continuing to add short and these net shorts start getting longer and longer and longer, or I'm sorry, if these net shorts become more and more short, then I would expect price to start moving up. Okay, so we want to see this red area to start increasing. We want to see the shorts increasing on the relative sentiment and the longs decreasing. I would expect price to continue upward if that happens. Okay, dollar yen. Very, very similar to everything else we've been looking at. The difference here is that, okay, we talked about being in a range, and if you look, that's very clear. Okay, we're clearly in a range. Right, we saw that with our just candlestick analysis, right? That we're pretty much stuck in this range, bouncing back and forth. But the interesting thing here is retail is more long than short at the moment. So the downward break may be the one most likely to occur here, okay? But typically, again, what retail will do, especially in an instance like this where it's been a long period of time, is as soon as price breaks out, if they are long and it breaks to the upside, they're going to immediately sell their positions and then start going short, okay? And that's when price would continue upward. Or since there's been so much energy built on the long side with retail here, it may just squeeze them all out and just push to the downside to begin with. So again, we'll just watch how this plays out. We'll see which direction it chooses, okay, which direction the market makers move price, and we'll monitor sentiment to make sure retail's starting to go opposite that move, and we'll get in with that trend. Okay, I just wanted to take a moment. If you don't have any of our products, any of our indicators, I just wanted to say that we just released the Sentiment Analysis Excel spreadsheet, and this is a good way to track sentiment yourself by using any of the sites available out there that offer sentiment. Okay, so you can plug in the numbers and track the retail positioning. You'll get a heat map and you'll get a simplified version of our sentiment analysis tool. And right now we're practically giving it away. It's only $7, right? And so you can track sentiment. You can also do basket analysis. And we also included a video that talks about how to use the spreadsheet and gives you some sites that you can get the sentiment from. Okay, so if you don't have any of our other automated tools, this is definitely a good place to start. And last, I wanted to talk about our Sentiment Trading Quickstart Guide. Okay, this is now available. You can get it at sentifx.com /sentiment-trading-quick-start-guide. Okay, and I will link to that in the video below. But the Sentiment Quick Start Guide is going to go through all the different signals, okay, and how to profit, and it will show you examples of how you can take advantage of those sentiment signals no matter how you trade. So if you trade supply and demand or support and resistance, Fibonacci, harmonic patterns, this guide will tell you all the signals that are important to know which way retail's headed, and also how to understand the sentiment market cycle and where those patterns are within that sentiment market cycle. And again, we'll show some live examples in that Sentiment Trading Quick Start Guide. So if you're interested in sentiment trading, definitely check that out, and it'll enhance your trading outcomes because you'll be trading against retail. So you'll start seeing that by following these signals with your trading style, you should see an improvement in your profits, your P&L, and also your win-loss ratio. All right, guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this end of week analysis. This is Charles from SentiFX. Talk to you soon.